Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I get to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our community. What did they do to get started? And what are they doing to stay there? And oh my goodness, are you in for a treat today as I'm bringing you another special guest? Today I'm speaking with Janet Lawson. Janet is she's the agency head for the state's HR agency, Virginia Department of Human Resource Management. I got to meet Janet when I was in Richmond, Virginia at the Richmond SHRM Strategic Conference. So Janet, so glad to have you on the show. How you doing?
Doing great, Bruce. Happy to be here.
Oh my goodness, we had so much fun. I got to help moderate a panel that you were part of, as well as Carla Holman and Carrie Smith. I actually had Carrie Smith on the podcast, episode 240, if you want to check her out. That was so much fun. What'd you think about that? What'd you think about that panel as well as the conference?
I loved both of them. I've been to the conference many years before. It's always a very valuable conference full of exciting topics. And what I really enjoyed about the panel is getting to meet the other two ladies who brought different perspectives.
Mm.
I've been in state government or public sector for over 23 years, and sometimes you kind of forget what the private sector is like. And so it was real exciting to share the panel with them and to get their perspectives. In some cases, they were very similar, and others, they were very different.
Well, shout out to Beth Peterson. Beth
Yes.
helped us put together that panel. And what I loved about Beth is she had her stuff down. Like she got us all on a call and she really kind of set the expectations. And of course, her co-director, Crystal Frankart. So shout out to them. They were absolutely wonderful. I'm a big fan of Richmond Sherm now. Hey, I want to just kind of get the podcast started. Let's talk a little bit about Janet Lawson, and I would love to hear a little bit about your story and where did you grow up and how in the world did you get into HR and leadership?
I grew up in an Air Force family.
Mm.
So the first 12 years, we moved around Maine, Texas, Florida, Kansas, Germany for 3 years, and then settled in Virginia in the early 80s. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been in Virginia since then, middle school, high school, college, graduate school. So I'm a Virginian. In high school and college, I worked retail. And after college, after a couple of years of being in management, I thought, I am tired of nights and weekends and holidays. I just want a corporate 8 to 5 job. And I
Mm.
started thinking, what is it I enjoy the most about my job now in retail?
Mm-hmm.
I've got customer service, I've got merchandising and inventory, and I have hiring and training and coaching. I thought that's what it is. I
Hmm.
enjoy the employees. I enjoy recruiting and giving someone a job and seeing the excitement when they have an offer. I
Mm.
enjoy training employees and helping them be more successful and seeing growth over time, and providing evaluations and coaching. So that's really what led me to human resources, and I've never looked back.
Mm. I love that. Well, a couple of things. First of all, I was thinking about when I went to Richmond, that was my first time in Richmond, and my wife and I took a quick journey down to Williamsburg, which was absolutely fantastic in Jamestown. And
Mhm.
so we just loved the area. And so when you said, hey, we settled, in Virginia, I can see why. It's an amazing, amazing place. But
Yes.
something you said that resonated with me, you said, the nights and weekends. When I grew up, my parents, they owned bowling centers. And people don't bowl in the day, they bowl at night and on the weekends. So that's when I was working nights and weekends, and I wanted to have kind of a day job. And so that's what helped me. But I want to lean into something you said outside of, and by the way, thank you for the serve. Were you also in the military, or was that
No,
just was that
just my father.
your father? Well, thank you for
Yes.
his service. That's fantastic, the Air Force. But you said when you were thinking about transitioning or doing something different, you ask yourself the question, what do I enjoy? What do I like? What do I enjoy? And you kind of landed on I like people, I like coaching, all of that. I love that. I think a lot of people have a hard time trying to figure out what they want to do. How did that come about? Did somebody ask you that question? Like what did you enjoy? Or like for the listeners, people that are listening right now who are like, I don't know, they're thinking, God, I kind of want to do something a little bit different. Did you have coaching in that, or how did that come about?
Great question, Bruce. Nobody coached me. It was really just me, I guess, self-reflecting
Yeah.
and thinking about, I want to have a job that I enjoy, that I
Mm,
feel that I'm giving, I'm contributing to, I add value, but I have
mm,
to enjoy it. And
yeah.
and so, it's not, you hear people today, oh, what's young people, what's
Yeah.
the kind of career where I'm going to make the most amount of money? Well, there are those careers, but are you going to be happy? Are you going to have that
Yeah.
self-fulfillment?
Yeah.
And I never really thought of that. I just thought of, okay, I need to get out of retail into
Yeah.
something that's more corporate.
Yeah.
And really it was just going through all the different aspects of the job that I was familiar with
Yeah.
and really trying to find what of that I really enjoyed. And it's interesting because it all came down to human resources. It wasn't, well, it could be this or it could be that. Everything that inspired me was HR driven.
And you hit the nail on the head because you've been doing it since.
Yes.
And I love all that. I wrote down the word self-reflection. I do a lot of self-reflection. I write in a journal. I'm always evaluating, hey, here's where I'm at. And am I in the lane? Do I need to change lanes? Do I need to press down the gas? Do I need to pull over and rest? I'm always reflecting. Is that a practice for you as well?
Yes and no. It is
Mm-hmm.
not a set practice. It's
Yeah.
one of those where when either work is getting very hectic or stressful,
Yeah.
or there's life changes, it prompts me to just take a
Mm-hmm.
step back
Mm.
and really think about, okay, what can I do better? What can
Yeah.
I do to either enhance the job that I have?
Yeah.
Is it time for a new job? I mean,
Mm.
but that it's usually there's something in going on either at home or at work
Mm-hmm.
that prompts me to do that self-reflection. It's
Yeah.
not, I'd like to say I'm disciplined enough that every 3 months I have a self-reflection day. That's
Yeah.
not me.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit, I guess, more spontaneous than that,
Yeah.
but I recognize, I think maybe it's age and experience that I know
Yeah.
at times I need to just step back
Yeah.
and just pause and think about what's going on in life and what do I need to do differently? And sometimes it's just a personal
Yeah.
reflection, something I need to do at home or with my health. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's, maybe I need to do this at work. But yeah,
I like that. I like that. Triggers. Something will
yes.
trigger that. I have a practice at the end of each year, and we're counting down 2025 here. I have a practice at the end of each year to ask myself the questions: what do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to continue doing? And I
Oh,
learned that from Dale Carnegie, a class. We were talking offline about that. And so that's so good. Okay, so you found HR.
yes.
And I'm always curious around like when someone finds their lane. I wrote a book called Find Your Lane back in
Mhm.
2017. And I feel like that's, when you find your lane, you really find your calling, the joy in your career. Would once you got into HR, was there a moment or were there moments that you said, I found it? Like, okay, this is what I was going for. Now I know I found it and I'm going to do this for my career.
There were probably moments where I knew HR was where I wanted to stay. I
Mm,
think for me, it was which industry. I started in healthcare,
mm,
and over time, I always had this vision of being, a corporate VP of human resources.
mm.
For some Fortune 50 company like the Walt Disney Company or something like that.
Yeah.
But life kind of, is unpredictable,
Yeah.
and through some changes, I wound up coming to work for the state of Virginia in the
Yeah.
early 2000s. And I thought, I mentioned earlier, I was came from a military family. I thought maybe this is my way of contributing to the community is through
Mm,
public service.
mm,
And so I did that for about 7.5 years. Then I went to local government, and I felt even more connection at that level of, seeing that the people that I worked with and that I hired and trained were having an impact on their community,
mm,
and that was inspiring. And
mm,
so I kind of shifted. It's everything's been within human resources, but the industry that I worked in has changed,
mm.
and each move has helped me see. the next step of where I want to
Mm.
go. And so the current position I'm in is an appointed position, and it's leading the state's human resource agency. So I'm actually still in HR, but I'm really more strategic and I'm really
Mm.
more leadership focused, which is where I wanted to end up.
I love all of that. I love that. Like each time you got to these points, it showed you even like a bigger picture. It's like, oh, I wrote down the word impact. And I
Yes.
love that because I think that's what people are going for. They want to make impact in some way. They're just trying to figure out how can I do that. And a lot of times you think, oh man, we got to get around the table. We got to all plan on how do we make impact when really impacting is about taking care of people and how you treat people and how you approach people and how you empower people and just how you work with people, isn't it?
Yes.
I love all that. Hey, I want to talk leadership with you. One of the questions I do like to ask my guests on the show is when someone says, "Hey, Janet, what's leadership to you?" How would you respond to that? Because there's so many different ways to define it.
For me, leadership is multifaceted. It's inspiring others to
Mm,
be their best
mm,
through listening, through coaching. Um, and the second part for me is being a visionary and being able to translate my vision to
mm.
those that work with me and for me to where they see where I'm trying to lead us. And I think a good leader is able to tell the right stories, to get
Mm.
people to buy in, to help them feel like they really are part of one team.
I love all of that. As you said that, I was thinking about, I think Maxwell might have been the one that said leaders, they know the way, they go the way, and then they show the way. And when you talked about being a visionary, that's the thing that really, yeah, inspire people to be about all of that. But when you can really show people that the way people will, oh, okay, I'll go that way. And that's really leading. And I love all of that. You know, in Richmond, we talked about how we were on the corporate panel and I got the opportunity to moderate that panel. We were really talking about the future of work.
Mhm.
And I think that's like that gets everybody's attention right now because people want to know like what is the future? I feel like we're kind of in the future.
Mhm.
And a little bit, you we talked about, just some of the different, organizational shifts and things like that. What are your, as we kind of kick this off, I want to ask you a couple of things around that. But my first question I want to ask you is around the future of work. Like, do people ask you about it or do you think about it? You mentioned earlier you're in this strategic position. Do you find yourself thinking about the future of work? And if you do, what are some of the things that you think about today?
Yes, the future of work is something that is on my mind frequently, and those
Hmm.
that work with me.
Yeah.
And a couple of things that come to mind, when generative AI became all the rage, and everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, we're going to be replaced."
Hmm.
And in the public sector, the first thing I said is, "Oh no, no, I don't think anyone has to worry about losing their job." And
Yeah.
and actually, even in the private sector, I think I hear more and more of my peers saying, AI is not here to replace the work. It's here
Hmm.
to improve and augment what you're doing. It's to
Yeah.
help simplify. And, you know, we had recently had a conference and we were putting some presentations together, and what would have taken us hours took us less than 30 minutes to put
Hmm.
some things in AI and get some things back and put them into a PowerPoint. And so I thought, wow, this is really more efficient.
Hmm.
So it's not, I think the future of work it's been changing and change, 15 years ago, we talked about change. It's all about change. Well,
Hmm.
that's life.
Yeah.
And work is all about change. It's how do we adapt to
Yeah.
change and how do we accept the new technology and how do we embrace it instead of fearing it. And I really think that's the hardest part for a lot of individuals. Change is hard, and
Hmm.
especially when something seems so far away and you don't know much about it, then there's that fear. And
Yeah.
so I think the future of work is really about how do we embrace the change sooner? How do we adapt quicker to where we let it help us instead of becoming an obstacle?
Yeah. I like that. I'm always for change unless it's going to affect me. Like, wait a minute. I don't know. Um, how do you coach that though? Earlier you talked about, hey, I want to be in a job around people and coaching, and now you're probably doing a lot of coaching. There's people listening on the show. Many are people leaders, many are in talent acquisition, many are in mobility. But this adapt, I wrote down these three words: adapt, change, and fear. And I feel like that's one of the things that, and I think Carrie actually mentioned it on the show as well, as the importance of trying to figure out how to be adaptable.
Mhm.
And I don't know, is that a skill that you can teach? Do you have any tips on how you might be able to coach someone uh, to be more adaptable or embrace that change?
Well, that's a great question. I think for me, helping someone adapt to change, first you have to understand the fear. So listen, ask them questions. Help ask them to tell you, where they are. What is the fear? And
Mm-hmm.
can they pinpoint, is it the fear of I'm going to be replaced?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there something else? Is it a fear of I'm not going to be good enough, or I'm not going to adapt as quickly as perhaps my coworker?
Yeah.
And I think as a leader, you need to listen to your employees first. You need to find
Mm.
out where they are. And then, in my opinion, to be an effective coach, is you help them see the potential that they
Mm-hmm.
have. Using AI as an example, I
Okay.
kind of resisted using it for a while because I really wasn't sure how to use it. When I first heard about AI, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, it's out.
Yeah.
It's only as good as the information that's being put into it. So how
Yeah.
reliable is it? And
Right.
then I had coworkers starting to use it. I'm like, let me use this. And
Mm.
I found I don't use it for everything,
Yeah.
but for me, it's helped me accept it and see the value of using
Yeah.
AI. And I think in this situation, if you have employees who are fearful of change, is going through an exercise with them and showing them side by side. Let's go through
Mm-hmm.
this. Let's look at what your fear is and let's work on it together. And that way, hopefully, they have a sense of comfort that they're not having to go through the change by themselves, that they do have someone with them, perhaps, again, someone they look up to that could help point out things that they were overlooking, maybe with themselves or maybe with whatever it is that they're fearful of. Um, but I think the key for any successful coach is starting by listening and then really helping the person um, see the potential they have and be, um, try things. Don't
Mm.
hesitate. Again,
Mm.
having someone with you to help go through that usually makes everyone a little bit more comfortable.
I wrote down ask questions. I love that because that's a great place to start. You got to really understand the other person's point of view.
Yes.
You just need to really kind of get their perspective. But you like when you said, "Hey, just listen," like just really listen, and then try to help them see the potential. I love that. That's coaching 101 right there. And I guess that's what you got to do. Is now what my takeaway from this is helping someone. You got to put on that coaching hat, right, and say, "Hey, what's going on here? All right, I'm listening, and okay, let's see how we can." Get through that. I love that. I have also I I use ChatGPT a little bit to
Mhm.
polish like an email if I'm uncertain. I want like, hey, I want to throw that in there to ChatGPT. And
Yes.
that's really helped me a lot just for that. I'm still a little fearful of putting too much information
Yes.
in, but I will tell you that you talk about change. We started using I'm in, of course, corporate relocation. And so we help companies relocate talent. And so many times we are doing a survey or an assessment of what we're going to move for the family over the video. And AI, we have an AI tool that actually goes through and will calculate, okay, there's the sofa and there's the table and there's all the things in the home. And now here's how much space you need on the truck. Here's the moving plan. I'm like, and then of course, you need a human to go in there and make sure it's all accurate. But I remember before we rolled that out, how like fearful I was. Like, what? There's no way that's going to be able to do. And I didn't want to change. And then I finally, so it was the anticipation part. It was the, but once I started learning it, it's
Mhm.
like been the best thing ever.
Yes.
So I wrote down try things.
Yes.
And so once tried it, it really, and today I mean, I use it all the time and it's really powerful.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
also encourage your employees to try things? And do y'all talk about? This is a very fascinating subject. I do like talking about this because there's people on here right now that are like they're not sure. They don't want. And should they be talking about it? And should they be? Should that be a team discussion? Things like that. I'm curious from your perspective. Do y'all talk about that? And
We do. I probably talk more about what are your suggestions? So it's not just
mm,
about trying things. We do
mm,
encourage employees where they can to try something new.
yeah,
Um, but we also ask, I'm always asking for feedback,
yeah,
whether it's my leadership team or my workforce in general.
yeah.
And I tell them all the time, this isn't Janet's agency. This is our agency. And, I want when we think about moving forward, I want
Mm,
everyone to come to the table with ideas. I have
mm,
staff who've been here 30 plus years that have seen a lot. They've seen things come and go and they see what works and what doesn't, but they also have know that there are opportunities that haven't been tried.
mm.
And then I have new staff that come with different perspectives. So for me, it's all about let's share suggestions and let's try it together, or if it makes sense for this one team to try something first and then come back and let us know, hey, this worked great, or yeah, let's not try that again. Yes, we're all about I'm
Yeah.
very supportive of trying something new, thinking outside the box, because to me that's how you grow and develop both as a person and
Hmm.
as an organization.
Hmm. I love that. I wrote down the word feedback. Yeah, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with feedback. I mean, I love feedback because I know that's going to help. I need to know, but sometimes I'm like, can we just do it? Have you always been able to accept feedback, or is that something you had to learn?
I've always accepted feedback. I
Hmm.
think as I've gotten older, I have been able to apply it more effectively.
Mm.
I think early in my career, if the feedback was negative,
Yeah.
I took it hard. I took it personally. And now I use it as an opportunity for growth of myself, because as a leader, you should always continue to want to grow as well. And a lot of that is through feedback.
Yeah.
I meet with staff monthly and I'll ask, what more can I do? Or what are you
Mm.
hearing? I have one person that every few months I'll say, what's the buzz going on in the agency? What is
Mm.
there anything that I need to be doing better or that I should be aware of? And
Mm.
I want that feedback because I've
Mm.
learned we only get better when we know the good and the bad.
Yeah. That's courageous is the first word that it came to mind, but it's more vulnerable. It's like being a vulnerable leader saying, "Hey, listen,
Yes.
do you see any gaps in my leadership? I am, or something we're doing in our organization. I need to know." I will tell you that I also circled the word bring ideas. You talked about bringing ideas to the table. You encourage your employees to bring their ideas. I was watching, and I talk about this a lot of times in my presentation. I watched Tom Hanks one time. He accepted the award for lifetime achievement. He was going to give a speech, and I was very interested because I'm like, if somebody gets a lifetime, they've obviously done something well. And he said that he was told one time that you need to do these three things to have success. And he said, number one is you got to show up. And of course, we all know, hey, show up on time. The second thing was you got to know your script. And he was talking about you have to know your surroundings, know what we're doing, know all of the initiatives we have. You got to know the script. And then third thing he said is you got to bring ideas. And I thought, now that is the secret sauce. So my question to you is for people that bring you ideas,
Mhm.
do you, I don't know, I feel like bringing ideas also creates a better brand for, not even a better brand, maybe even a stronger brand for an employee.
Mhm.
Because they're bringing your ideas. They're always like thinking like, oh my goodness, I need to, they have that brand like, hey, this person right here is all in because they're all bringing ideas. Do you think that builds brand? And do you think brand's important for employee brand? I know I gave you a few questions beforehand, but as we're sitting here talking, I'm like, this is such a powerful concept when you think about bringing ideas. Do you look at people differently?
I do. I believe that the employees that bring suggestions and
Mhm.
ideas,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that to me are more engaged. They're the ones
Mm.
that I know are enjoying their job. It's the ones that I don't hear from that I have every now and then I'll go by and say, "Are you okay? Is there
Mm.
anything going on?" Because I want everyone to feel like they can contribute. And
Yeah.
and so yes, and to this one of the questions about brand, absolutely. You know, every employee has a brand, if you
Yep.
will. Every
Yep.
organization has a brand. And so, one of the things we've done here at the Commonwealth is, how do we build a brand for the workforce
Mm.
that's bigger than just one agency? So yes, but you can't get there with just one or two people. You have to have collaboration. You have to have input.
Mm.
It's so I think it is important that employees feel empowered to share their ideas,
Yeah.
and encouraged. And then for me personally, when I hear a really good idea, I don't take it from them and try it. I ask them
Mm.
to try it. Okay, all right,
Mm.
that's a great idea. Why don't you pilot it? Let's see how
Mm.
this works. And so again, they come up with the idea, but they also have the opportunity to do something with it.
Mm. It's like you're like, hey, I want to give you credit. I want people to see
Yeah.
that you came up with this idea. We're going to all circle around it. We're going to try to do something with it. And if we can have success with it, then hey, look what you've done, right?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Oh my goodness. This is so good. When you talked about building a brand for the workforce, the first thing that came to my mind was culture. Is
Yes.
that would you think that would be similar when you think about that?
I do. They may not be exactly the same, but I
Yeah.
think they are similar enough. To me, when you have a strong culture
Yeah.
where employees get up in the morning and are excited to come to work and they bring ideas and they're engaged and they want to stay, it builds the brand of this is a great place to work.
Mm.
So when you have a job opening, people want to come work for you because of the brand that's based on the culture that you've developed. So
Yeah.
it's to me it's interwoven, maybe not exactly the same, but it is very close. They're interrelated.
Yeah.
So culture, yes, if you have a strong culture of engagement, inclusion, employees feel like they belong, then it builds a brand, a positive brand where people want to come work for you.
Yeah, that's so good. As a matter of fact, I think about, it's almost like it attracts people to the organization or not even to the organization, but it attracts retention because people want to stay with the organization because they're like, hey, I'm part of something bigger here.
Yes.
And I would think that that would make you super proud. I do want to ask you, I always like to ask, like, what's something you're proud of as a leader that you've done with your organization or you continue to do with the organization? Any thoughts around that?
For me, I think one of the goals that I set for myself when I took this job three and a
Mm-hmm.
half years ago is
Okay.
to improve the reputation of human resources within state government.
Okay.
And I feel that I did not accomplish that on my own. I think as a
Yeah.
team we have, but it started with me holding monthly virtual HR director meetings. So
Mm-hmm.
we have 108 human resource directors at various state agencies, and I
Mm-hmm.
have 3 or 4 HR director meetings a month. You can come to one, you can come to all of them. I share ideas, I share what's going on in our agency, and I solicit feedback. Come back to feedback.
Yeah.
We've had some offsite events where we talk about innovation and human resources, and we
Mm.
share best practices. And so for me, I just a month ago we held a conference for state HR, and I had quite a few people coming up to me saying, "Thank you
Mm.
for bringing us together, for
Mm.
helping us network, for helping us feel like we truly do add value in our
Mm.
agencies and collectively in state government." So I feel like I've accomplished one of the main goals that I set for myself when I accepted this job.
Yeah, I love that. So did you so you meet and by the way, that's a big team, 108 around the state. Did you so you have those calls each month and that's something you kind of a practice that you still have today?
We do.
Okay. That's
Yes.
fantastic. I love that. And that's one of those things that you made the choice like, hey, I'm just going to put this in practice and let's just see who wants to, be part of that. And now all of a sudden, it's almost like the word I used earlier. You've attracted people to it because they all probably feel like their voice is heard
Yes.
and that they're part of something, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Man, this is so good. I mean, I had some other questions. Like this is, I mean, I'm just leaning. Your leadership is amazing because you have like created this. I don't know. I guess this inclusiveness, and I think that's what a lot of people are going for, and it's very difficult. Any advice that you've ever been given, I guess, that you find yourself sharing with others? I always like to ask that from leaders, like sometimes they get advice early in their life and they just find themselves it's really helped them, served them well, and that they share that often. Or any advice you got early or even late in your career that you just find yourself sharing with others?
Yes. So two things, and you actually mentioned one of them not too long ago, and it's being vulnerable. As
Mm,
a leader, I have found, and I've watched other leaders, that when they are vulnerable, those that are listening see that they're human,
hmm
they're viewed as authentic, and I think that's so important for your reputation as a leader to show that you are vulnerable. Yes,
Yeah.
there are times that you want to be strong, you want to be firm and hold people accountable and be consistent, but it's good to be vulnerable at times when during
hmm
in the right times.
Yeah.
Um, the other advice that I learned from probably the best boss I ever worked for is to be forgiving.
Mm,
People make mistakes, and you can jump all over someone when they make a mistake. You can just write them up, and usually, yes, they'll eventually learn. But in that moment, they usually withdraw. Whereas if
hmm
you're forgiving and coach them and say,
hmm
we make mistakes. How can we learn from this?
mm,
And work with them and help them get through the mistake and move forward to where they've learned and they grow. To me, that's part of what being a good leader
mm.
is not just, yes, hold people accountable, but be forgiving, especially when you know it wasn't intentional. And
Yeah.
so I think sometimes we forget about those two things, being vulnerable and being forgiving.
Yeah, I love that. Give grace.
Yes.
I'm wondering, I do have another question I want to ask you because as we've had this discussion, I've just like I'm really admiring your coaching style. This is really what leadership to me is you're really coaching and trying to help people become more, get to where they want to go. Did
Yes.
you take any coaching? uh, any coaching classes, or do you work on your coaching? Or for those listening today, they're like, "Hey, I want to try to like coach better." Any thoughts around that?
So for full transparency, I did not take any classes. Um,
She's a
really,
natural. No.
really, it's about
Yeah.
observing.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
um, to me, I think I talked earlier about as a leader, listen and solicit feedback, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's about watching. And as I was growing as a manager to a director and wanting to be a leader, I watched and I
Yeah.
watched the good leaders and the ones that I didn't think were that good. And
Mm,
I wanted to be a coach. And so
mm,
I watched those who I felt were really good coaches. I did go through a couple leadership programs, and one of them had a coaching session
yeah.
that really did speak to me about it isn't about doing for someone, it's about
Mm-hmm.
helping them learn how to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't a whole class or a
Yeah.
program, but it was something that helped me realize, okay, that's what's missing. I'm a doer. I want to do
Yeah.
things. I want to fix things. But if I
Mm-hmm.
want to be a good coach, besides listening and asking questions, I need to help people figure out how to do things themselves. And so again, it was several years and or
Hmm.
many years of
Yeah.
observing and going through leadership classes where they have a coaching session. And so I would encourage anyone who is interested in how to be a better coach. Yes, take a class or take a leadership program where coaching is included, because that really was what solidified it for me.
I love that, and I talk about, and I love how I wrote you said watch people, and I wrote down model the way, and I was thinking about, I shared this one time when I was talking about networking, and a lot of times there's this intangible about networking, and this could be within the organization or outside the organization, and the intangible is you can see what good looks like, and you can see what not good looks like.
Yeah.
And early on, I didn't really get this, but even when you're serving under a boss that doesn't have the same approach or maybe doesn't value things the way you do, it's still good to be grateful in those moments because you get to learn, hey, that's not how I want to do it. When I get the opportunity, I'm going to do it this way. But people are always watching. So, any thoughts around that?
No, you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. Is you learn what you think is a good makes a good leader
Yeah,
or what doesn't make a good leader. And
yeah.
I think, yes, taking time to observe, don't go to a meeting and just immediately jump in, but sit back and watch first and see what the dynamics are. And just to me, I find I am more valuable when I contribute because I've observed first, and whether it's just knowing what to talk about
Mm.
or what to do as a leader to be more impactful. I think that listening and observing is critical.
So sometimes be careful of the quiet leaders out there because they are observing.
That's right.
They're observing you, so it may not be they're not engaged. I love that. I love how you also talked about earlier. I just mentioned engaged. When someone's not engaged, you still go up and say, "Hey, how are we doing? Is
Yeah.
there anything I can do for you?" and things like that. So this has been so good. I have just enjoyed. The time flies by so fast, Janet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have 100 questions I want to ask you, but hey, we're going to shift to It's Time to Accelerate. One of the things that we talked about doing at the conference on our panel was talking about HR buzzwords. And buzzwords were going to retire. And when we came off stage, we were like, hey, we ran out of time. We didn't get to talk about that. That'd been a lot of fun. And so I want to ask you. So in 2026, what HR buzzword should we retire? Any thoughts?
I do. I have one.
Oh,
So it's not a word, it's a phrase.
oh,
Seat at the table. I have
oh,
heard that for decades. Seat at the table. And I will say it's important. But more important than just being at the table
yeah.
is having a voice. And I will
Mm.
give kudos to a colleague of mine who wrote a book about having a voice in the room. And
Oh,
and I think as a leader and as a human resource leader, it is important that people want to hear from you. It's not that
mm.
you're just there. So long answer, yeah, get rid of seat at the table and be a voice that
I love
people want
that.
to hear from.
I love that. I love all that. What's the name of this book? Here.
Transitioning from a seat at the table to a voice in the room by Patrick Patrong. I'll
Hmm.
make sure to get a copy to you, Bruce.
Fantastic. And I will put a link in the show notes if somebody's listening that wants to pick up a copy of that. That would be fantastic. I love
Yeah.
that. A seat at the
Yeah.
table. I'm in agreement with you on that one. Love that. Okay. The future of HR in one word.
Innovative.
Hmm. Innovative. I like that. Somebody told me one time, if you want to get my attention, all you got to do is put the word innovative in the subject line.
Oh,
And I was
yep.
like, oh, okay. I like that. But,
Yep.
you better have something innovative.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. If you could give someone in the workplace a new skill, we're talking coaching here, what would that skill be?
So I had one thought, but I'm shifting it. I
Mm,
really think it's collaboration.
okay.
Um, and I say that because we always talk about collaboration, but I think there are so many people who, maybe it's the younger generation who've been on their phones so much that those who either are working remotely or are not used to being with people, I
Yeah.
think they have a harder time knowing how to collaborate. with their colleagues and
Yeah.
outside of their colleagues with peers that are in other organizations or other departments that they could there's so much they
Mhm.
could gain from that. And I think it's becoming a skill that is starting to I'm starting to see less and less of that. And I don't think it's intentional, but I think it's certainly something that we need to focus on is how to
Mhm.
be collaborative and effectively.
I like that. And a lot of times you wonder, you think, okay, do I not feel like I'm worthy enough to go and share because they have more experience than me? Or, it's a lot of times it's mindset. We have
Mhm.
that negative mindset when people want to hear, that reminds me when I first joined my organization 20 years ago at the Armstrong Company, I was the young guy at the table. And all the experienced guys were around me, and they would go around, they'd do their staff reporting, and they'd get to me and I'd say, I don't really have anything because, I'm like, I want to hear from those guys and
Mhm.
ladies. And then now I'm at the table. I'm the experienced guy, and all these young people are around the table, and I'm wanting to hear from the young people.
Yes.
And so everybody can learn from everybody, but I think you have to have that mindset of, hey, you know what? I'm going to go find out what they're thinking about. I'm going to find out what their perspective is so you can better collaborate. I like that. I like that a lot, Janet. This is so good. Okay, this is my last question.
Okay.
And I've asked all my guests this question, and I would love to hear your response to this. Janet, 10 years older,
Mhm.
she's around the corner and she's knocking at your door, and you are going to go answer that door. What's she going to tell you?
She's going to tell me to take more time for
Mm,
myself and my family. It's so easy to get wrapped up in work and to forget about, kids growing up and baseball games
mm.
and your own self, your health. And the work will always be there. But your family needs you and you need your health as well.
That's a 10 years wiser Janet Lawson. This has been so much fun. I appreciate you coming on the show today and just sharing perspective. I know there's people, I have front and back, 2 pages of notes here. There are people out there that are taking notes, and I know it's going to help some people. Hey, if somebody heard something, Janet, and they're like, hey, I don't know Janet, or I want to get to know Janet, or I want to learn more about this. What's the best way someone could connect with you?
I am on LinkedIn. I don't post as much, but this
Yep,
is an opportunity for me to
yep,
start posting more.
yep.
And right now, email is probably the second best. And I'll give you my email. It is janet.lawson at dhrm.virginia.gov.
Perfect. And I'll put that in the show notes. So when you reach out and you connect with Janet, be sure and let her know you heard her on Life in the Leadership Lane. Maybe even share something that she shared that makes the connection so much easier and quicker. Like, yes, I want to connect. And again, I'm just so grateful. I got a chance to meet you in Richmond. And now we get to continue the conversation. I learned so much from you today, and I can't wait to see what's ahead for you. So thanks for being on the show.
Well, Bruce, thank you for this opportunity. This is exciting.
Yep.
Very happy to have been here.
Awesome. Okay. I'll talk to you later, Janet.
All right. Thanks, Bruce. Take care.